Hello, this is the TLS97, which is a towed leaf sweeper, and this is how it arrives with you in this box. If you bought the TLS107, the assembly is exactly the same. So what we're going to do is unwrap it, take it out, get it on the bench and show you how to put it together so you can start collecting leaves from your lawn. So to assemble the sweeper, you do need a few tools. You're going to need a 10mm, 13, 14 and 17 and a pair of pliers. And of course, everything you need to know is in the manual. There is a step-by-step in there, so it tells you exactly what you need to do to put all this together so you can use it on the lawn. So the first thing we're going to do for our first step is mount the little angle bracket just here. So we've got the bracket, we're just going to put it there. There's already a hole drilled in the front of the case in there, and then I can put the bolt through there, and then onto that we put a washer and a locking nut like that. So if I just hold that, you can see the locking nut. So we just spin that on. Okay, and then we need to tighten that up, and this one you actually need a 14mm and a 13. The actual bolt is a 14mm head on it, but the nut is 13, so I'm just going to get it going when it's almost tightened up. Okay, now it's getting to where we need it. I need to get that to the side. Just position that there, so that's the position that it needs to be in, and then we can just make sure that that's square and just tweak that up so that is nice and tight. So that is really solid on there. So once that's finished, the next thing we can do is attach the hitch tubes. So there are two here and they line up. One goes on this side just there, and the other one goes like this, and then they fasten together. So we'll put this one on first. Now you may need somebody just to hold these in line for you. It just makes life a little bit easier. So we can see the holes that it's going through there, and what we do, we've got the bolts that drop through, so it's just a case of lining them up, one there, and then just, if that one will just twist around a little bit that way there, you just push that through the hole and that comes through below, and then onto the bottom of that we put a washer and a locking nut. So it's just a case of getting your hand inside there. Okay, right, I've got both bolts in there, but what you do at this stage is not to fully tighten them. There needs to be a little bit of give in them so that we can bring them together and join them. So what I'm going to do now is repeat that on this side, and then I'll show you how we fasten them together. Okay, so we've now got these both in place. We've got a bit of give in them still because we've got to tighten them up, but that allows us to bring these two tubes together here. So using one of the longer bolts, the 65mm bolts, we can push that through there, pop that on, and the nut, and then we can tighten them up. Just pop the other one in there, just to line them up. So what I'm doing with these is literally just binding them on a little bit because we've got another procedure to do. So I'm just biting it into the locking nut so it won't come off. Okay, so I've only put those very loosely on, so I've still got a gap between them, as you can see, and that is for a reason, and they will get tightened up afterwards. We've got these two pieces here, this plate and this angle. The plate is going to go underneath, and it's going to go so that the two holes are either side of this first bolt like that, and over it we've got this one. So this is going to be part of how we tow it. So we just line those up like that. It's a little bit fiddly, but what I'm going to do is get the bolt, and if I push the bolt down through that one, it will go into the one below. And likewise, this one just there. And then underneath, I can put on a washer and a little nut on that one. Just pop that onto there, and then we can tighten it up in a second. Another washer on the second one, and then a nut on there. and then we can give that all a tighten up. So if I get my spanner onto there, just tighten it up. So what I've done, I've tightened these two bolts here that go down so that I've lost the wiggle in that. And what I'm going to do now is tighten these so they clamp onto it, but I'm not going to do one all the way. I'll do them a little bit at a time so it goes in gradually. So I've just got to swap that over, and then just what I'm going to do is just finish off, give that one a final tweak so everything is nice and tight. So those four are tight, and then what I'm also going to do is just make sure those two and those two there are tight, and then it's all strong and secure. So the frame is now all strong and secure, so we can put the hitch pin in. So very simple, it's just an R pin like that, two spacers. So I'm going to pop the spacer into there and then put the pin in. So that's there for when we're ready to connect it onto the lawn tractor. And then we've got the height adjusting handle here, which we can also fit. Okay, this handle goes on here, so we just loosen that off so we've got a little bit give in it. And it sits on this crossbar like that, and these holes line up, and then this will then attach to this bar just here. So what I'm going to do is to put these two bolts in first, and these bolts go in the holes just here. So what we need to do with these is we put the bolt up like that, put on a washer, and then put on one of the nuts. Now these are on slots, so it will slide a little. So at this stage, I'm not going to tighten them too much until we've attached it at the top and make sure that that's correct. And then we can just tweak these up a little like that. So I'm just going to pop that on. So that holds everything into place like that. Then this piece here, we've got a little spacer and then our nut and bolt. So the spacer goes between the bracket and this like that, and then the bolt can go through. So you've just got to jiggle it a little bit like that. Okay, so that will go there, and then we can put on the washer and the bolt. So what I'm going to do is tighten this top one first, and then make sure that that is all in line with it, and then I can tighten that one as well. Okay, so we want that reasonably tight, but it's got to be able to move a little bit. Well, that's why we've got the spacer. And then now that that is at a right angle, what I can do, I'm just going to actually tighten that just to stop it wobbling about. I can now tighten these with the spanner. And now that's tight, I can just test it so we can see that that works by lifting it. And the idea is when you get it to the height that you want, with this you can tighten it up, which will hold it into the position. So now we can start to put together the collection bag. So this is the collection bag for when you're collecting leaves. So it's a big bag there. We've got these two gold tubular steel. You'll notice they've got holes in them. So it's important that when we make the frame, we get these holes in the right position. So we're going to put two in. The first one goes in the bottom. So I can just slide that in just to show you roughly like that. So that, you'll notice there, we've got the holes are facing upwards there. So we've got the two holes there facing upwards, and that goes in at the back. And this top one, we want the holes facing down, and it will go in when it's finished in sort of that position like that to hold the bag open. Now to hold that in place, if you look inside, you'll see we've got these little loops like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to feed the tube through the hoop. So I've got to make sure I've got it the right way. Yes, I have. So that one will go through there, and then that one through there, and so on. And I'm going to just carry on looping those on like that, and then they'll feed round the corner. And another one there. So there you can see they're threaded through. So that gives you just an idea of what it should look like at this stage. You'll notice there's a strap here. That will all become clear what we use that for. But what we need to do next is to fix these other two pieces. These two pieces are part of the frame, so we've got one for each side. So this is how it was. So it just pushes in to there like that. And then where the holes join up, there are some little black plastic pieces that push in. So you just push that into position and push that down like that. So that holds that firmly in place. So again, that one pushes into there. That's where the holes line up, and then this just pushes down just to hold that all together. And then the other two pieces that we've got, we do exactly the same at the bottom. So we just push this one into here like that. And again, we've got to the black pieces. So that's just line them up like that and push that one down. They just take a little bit of a, sometimes you just need to give them a bit of a push to get that one in, bit of pressure on it, and that pushes in like that. So that holds those together. Right, with both of them in, that is how it needs to go, like that. So I can put it down. So we've got these little pins there with a hole in, as you can see, just like that. So we're just going to push that through both holes, and then I've got these little R clips here, and they simply just push down to lock them into place like that. So I'm going to repeat that on the other side as well. Push that down and lock it into place. So that holds those together like that. Then we've got this steel bar, and that threads through. So on the underside here, if I just lift that open, you can see that we can actually get our finger in there. So that just slides in, this flat steel. It's got a hole in either end, so that should reappear there. And then what we do with that is we lift that up, and that's going to then go through this hole here, and then we can secure that in place with our R pin there. So exactly the same this side, and then put the pin through like that, and that'll hold that there. I'm now going to delve into this collection net here. Look, so if I lift that up, we've got the straps here. You need to make sure that one of the straps is at the back of this tube here and one at the front, because that's going to go up and go around the back there like that. And then I've got these two steel rods here. We've got the two holes in the top tube, so I'm just going to put one end of this steel rod into there, and then you've got to put quite a bit of pressure on. Works if you bend it round and then into the bottom one like that. Once you've got one in, the second one should be a little bit easier. So just put it into the top, okay, and I'm just going to give it a bit of pressure, bring it round, so click the strap together, and then just to tighten it, to put a little bit of tension onto there like that. So like that, and they're clicked nicely into place, and that isn't going to go anywhere. You'll also notice there's a piece of white rope with it, which I've tied one end to the top here. That will become clear later, so just leave that on the top, and then we can start getting this attached onto the sweeper. You should now have two lengths of black tubular steel left like this, and these form part of the mechanism that connects it to the sweeper. So what we need to do is, we've got the pins here, so we want a pin and a spacer, and then another spacer like that, and then through the top eye of the net, and then we can put in an R clip to hold that in place. So that will just be dangling at the moment, and then we'll repeat that on the other side. And now that's complete, we can attach it to the sweeper. So it's easier with two. It's not particularly heavy, it's just a bit awkward. So if we can just lift that down, Gareth, and then this end of this tubular steel pole goes into that one just there. And then we can see we've got holes in them. I'm going to put another pin through there, and then a final R pin, which just locks that into place. So that is now ready to put on the lawn and sweep some leaves. Now obviously you would be pulling this with your garden tractor, not by me, but once it's full of leaves, the idea of the rope is you can sit on your tractor seat and then you can back up to your compost heap, give that a pull, tip them out and drive away. And now I've got to pick them up again.
Remember to register your Cobra online at www.cobragarden.co.uk. Always have your Cobra serviced regularly. Check the website for your nearest dealer.